That's right. We're doing an NFC East preview. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are doing a divisional preview for the foreseeable future. Every day now, weekdays at 5 or 5:30, we're going to be doing divisional previews right here on Win Daily Sports, and it will be with me at Jon Jansen 34 and my guy Stoweby. And as you can see by the title, today we are previewing a fun one. I previewed a lot of this yesterday on my show over on The Gambler, the line change, the NFC East. And we are giving away free Win Daily memberships throughout the show. We will give you the trivia question in just a moment. But, Stoweby, the NFC East, man, like just a little quick, like general thing. How tough was this one for you? It's a really rough division all around.
Well, I mean,
is it rough for fantasy, though, I guess, is a good question.
I mean, there's not too terrible in terms of fantasy. I mean, I think it's going to be harder on the people that are watching it with a vested interest as far as it being their teams. You know, NFC East is always a crapshoot, and typically that's because the teams are all, and that's usually because the teams are all equally kind of bad. But I think we have some interesting targets here that we can take advantage of this year. It's actually going to be it's going to be a fun little division.
So we are going to post the question right now, and I will type it in and put it all over our Twitter account, YouTube, all of it. But trivia question, there will be multiple winners for this, just so you know as well. So we'll pick out the first few, and you could possibly win a 1-month Win Daily membership. But it's one that I asked Stoweby. I wanted to because I felt like it was an interesting question, and it might stumble a lot of people to figure this one out. And for Stoweby, it was like it was a thinker. It was a little bit of like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, if you don't sit there and go online and look it up, it seems like a simple question, but I bet you there's going to be a lot of people that if they're being honest and going off of memory, they'll get it wrong.
Right, exactly. So here is the question. Who was, and it's a simple one, as Stoweby said, who was the leading rusher in the NFC East in 2020? So who was the leading rusher in the NFC East last season? Give us the answers either on the YouTube chat or over on Twitter. If you on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe as well. But subscribe to our YouTube page. We'll be giving away those free memberships. But who was the leading rusher for the NFC East last season? Give us that in the chat, in the replies, and you could win a free 1-month membership to Win Daily Sports. And look, it's a great time because Stoby's we're posting divisional previews. He's posting his team by team previews. We have sleepers. We have season long rankings, all of it over at windailysports.com. So it is the best one. And you know what? I'll put the question up as well on the little chat here. But Stoweby, I will start with this one for you here. Who is, outside of probably Dak Prescott, the quarterback that you were looking at in the NFC East? Because Jalen Hurts, I know, is getting a lot of love because of his rushing, but Jalen Hurts does have some concerns. Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington, certainly an improvement, but there are concerns about which Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to show up. And Daniel Jones, does he make an improvement now in his, third, fourth year? Who is out? Because Dak Prescott's the easy one. But who, to you, outside of Prescott, is the quarterback that you're likely targeting here?
For me, it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. I really like, just purely because of the ADP. I'm a draft late guy, and one thing that Fitzpatrick has is plenty of upside. I mean, he was on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards and I think 25 touchdowns or something last year before they turned around and put Tua in there. And now he's arguably, he's got a better set of weapons. He still can throw the ball deep. So he's got Terry McLaurin, he's got Antonio Gibson, he's Curtis Samuel. He's got a ton of, and Logan Thomas. He's got a ton of weapons that he can throw to. And honestly, from like an interception standpoint, he was decent last year. From a touchdown pass standpoint, he was good last year. I think it was his highest completion percentage of his career as well. So I know he's going into his year 39 season, but he didn't have any. There was nothing to indicate that he was gonna take a step back, and now he's got even more weapons. So I love the fact that what is I think you're getting him in the 15th round, give or take, in 12-team leagues right now, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah. My thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick, you mentioned the interceptions, and look, his total wasn't, anything high. It was only 8. But it was on 3% of his passes attempted, which 3% is 6th worst in the NFL last season. Like, the interception problems are there. The thing is, for fantasy, I don't think it means too much. The only thing you have to figure out in fantasy, whether or not Washington is going to try and make him a conservative, you're trying to, and I'm emphasizing the word try. Are they going to try and make him a conservative game managing quarterback? Are they going to let him do what he's best at? And that's just toss the ball around, and you kind of live with, you take the risks and the rewards. Like, you take the reward of his deep passes, which he certainly can do. He has a good deep ball and he can stretch the field down vertically, which they could not do at all last year. Do you take that risk and get the rewards of being able to get long touchdown passes, stretch the field vertically, with the risk of the fact that he is probably going to throw a few picks? And by a few, I mean a lot.
Oh, yeah, he's going to throw plenty of interceptions, but I don't think Ron Rivera would have brought him in with the intent of making him a conservative quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what Fitzpatrick brings to the table. You know the risk that he has, and if they wanted a conservative quarterback, I mean, they still have. Isn't Alex Smith still on the roster?
No, I think he retired.
Or he's gone. Okay, either way, they had plenty of conservative quarterbacks. They didn't need to turn around and bring him in. They could have found somebody that's going to be dink and dunk.
Taylor Heineke, we know the way he can run and the way he throws. Like, he could be just a very serviceable, like, conservative quarterback if they really needed it.
Yeah, so I don't think they're really. I don't think that was their intent. So I think they're going to let him cut loose plenty.
Yeah, I think so as well. That would be the only risk. Now, look, when it comes to, like, this is different when it comes to Washington's season. I don't know if that's going to hurt them or not when it comes to wins or losses, because Ryan Fitzpatrick has never been a winning quarterback. And I think one of the reasons why is the very inconsistent play. And sometimes the risk reward, really the risk sometimes outweighs, or for the most part, outweighs any of the rewards that he gives you. But in fantasy, though, look, we've seen this. We know that a 30 for 30, the guy in the 30-30 club was a really good fantasy quarterback in Jameis Winston.
Number 2.
Yeah,
I think he was number 2 that year.
Now, the yards, of course, were up there, but that's the thing. Ryan Fitzpatrick can be a really serviceable fantasy football quarterback for you, and I think that's exactly where you should probably be going. Daniel Jones, to me, I think could be good. Like, I think even if Daniel Jones improves, there is a limit to how much he can improve, or a limit to what the numbers can be in Jason Garrett's offense. Jason Garrett is not a high volume passing attack. He sticks with the run. He's a play action guy, but it's not high volume, has not been at all throughout his career, even wasn't in Dallas with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's high volume started to come when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator. There's a limit so I can sit here all day and me say, look, Daniel Jones is going to improve. I think the turnovers go down. I think he'll be a better quarterback. But in Jason Garrett's offense, that may mean barely over 4,000 yards. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not enough of a volume. So Daniel Jones is not, in my eyes, too viable of an option. I just don't get the volume. Like, around there, you can get Derek Carr. I know Derek Carr is getting the volume. Like, do I know if it's going to be good or not? No, but I know he's going to get the volume, and they're going to throw a lot with John Gruden and in that offense. So, yeah, I could take Derek Carr way more comfortably. I think 2 spots higher or 2 spots lower than Daniel Jones, and I feel much better about that pick, for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I know we're kind of splitting hairs, but also, I know Fitzpatrick's not had a lot of great seasons as far as win-loss record, but he's had a few of them. I mean, he did good for the Jets. He had like a 10-6 record when he was playing for the Jets, and Daniel Jones. 2
good years. There is a. Do you know what the coincidence is in those 2 years? I'm pretty sure most. It's Chan Gailey was either the head coach or the offensive coordinator those 2 seasons, and when he had a somewhat semi-decent year last year, it was Chan Gailey again for Fitzpatrick. So that certainly has something to do with it. But yeah, Daniel Jones, I don't know. I don't see him. What about Jalen Hurts though? Like, that would be the one closer. But I think people are a little too high on him.
Yeah, I think they're just. I mean, clearly the upside's there just because of the rushing talent. But I, I if you're going to go ahead and get him, and you're going to draft a solid guy like somebody like a Carr or like a Matt Ryan or something like that, you're getting the upside play, and then you're getting the steady guy that's going to give you a little bit more of a floor. I can see you taking a risk on it if it falls correctly in the draft. But I mean, right now you got his ADP at 88, give or take, and he can be a QB1 just because of his legs, and he's, like I said, he's got plenty of upside. I mean, he won people plenty of money in DFS last season, but I'm just going to go elsewhere at that 7th, 8th round value.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I can go look where Jalen Hurts is being drafted around 10. Like, there are much more safer quarterbacks I can go with. Look, the upside, I get it. Like, sure, with a rushing quarterback, there's upside. But as we know, and there's a lot of obviously external factors and off the field issues, sexual misconduct cases for Deshaun Watson. But we know that Deshaun Watson has been heavily linked to the Eagles. So there's maybe not even a guarantee that Jalen Hurts starts the season. Let alone if he does start the season, what this offense is going to look like. Let's be honest about the Eagles offense. We know nothing about it.
Nope.
Like, Devontae Smith is in his rookie year. Jalen Reagor played a handful of games. Jalen Hurts played a handful of games. Their offensive line has been injured for more than 1 year. It's been multiple years that they have had injury problems, despite how good they are. Miles Sanders has been good in his, short career, and there obviously have been some injury problems there. And guess what? We have no idea what Nick Sirianni is going to be and what offense. I could, for sure, I think you could take some of the concepts the Colts use and use it in the Eagles offense, but there's obviously going to be his own fingerprint on it, and it's going to look different than what Frank Reich does. Every offensive coordinator is going to be different. Just because Nick Sirianni was in Indianapolis doesn't mean it's going to be a carbon copy. It's going to look different. I don't know what it's going to look like if Jalen Hurts in that offense and what that offense is exactly going to be. So there's so many unknowns that I think it's a little bit too high for Hurts.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. Even for guys like, is he going to be throwing to his tight end? So should we be looking at somebody like Goddard? Should we be looking at, Reagor, or about the only one at their current ADP for the Eagles that I am legitimately interested in is Miles Sanders. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable ADP for him. I think getting him around between the 35th and 40th.
I think it's a great buy low spot compared to what he was last year, and I think he has a better potential to put up better numbers than he ever did last season.
Yep. I completely agree with you, and that's going to be the main that will be my primary target as far as the Eagles go. Now, I mean, if I don't like anything else. I mean, honestly, even like somebody like Zach Ertz, he's going at like 180, and I would just be taking him on the premise that he might get traded to a team where he could be used, because I don't think there's going to be a ton of volume in the passing game.
And he's in camp right now, and he's going to play. I mean, you mentioned Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert is being drafted as a top 10 tight end. And I know a little bit has to do with the context of the fact that tight end position isn't very good to begin with. I don't see it, though. Like, Dallas Goedert, to me, could end up where he's always been, and that's in the 20s when it comes to his final ranking for fantasy football. I can't do that. At number 9,
you're paying
Goedert.
Yeah, you're paying for the upside already when you're drafting him where he's going right now, and I just can't see it. I would rather punt and go all the way down or go all the way up to somebody like
Gesicki, the guys behind him, and I take almost every single one behind him, even going down to about maybe 21. So the guys behind him, and I'll go through it straight, and you stop me when you say, okay, I won't take this guy over Dallas Goedert. I think that's a good exercise. Is that good?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
This is all on the WinDailySports.com. This is a season-long ranking. So obviously behind Dallas Goedert, and you can just scream out like that's stop. But Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan, Irv Smith Jr., Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Rob Gronkowski.
Stop.
Okay, Rob Gronkowski.
Right around there. I know what the other guys are going to bring to the table.
So you're saying it's around the 16th tight end, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he's ranked 9th, and you could go about it almost halfway down there and just take a guy somebody else that you like. It's remarkable. I don't get it.
I mean, I know we're not covering the NFC North right now, but give me all the Irv Smith.
Right.
Give me all of the Irv Smith at that ADP. I love the potential upside there.
Any upside, because obviously we're trying to find any, in the NFC East and just trying to find anywhere. Dallas Goedert isn't it? Zach Ertz isn't it, by the way, either. Not saying any tight end in Philadelphia is worth taking, but who is worth taking in the NFC East? Is it Logan Thomas, or is the type of offense that Fitzpatrick's going to use maybe a little bit different? Because the offenses that he did really like and was good in is Chan Gailey's offense, and they hardly ever used the tight end. It was a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So if Scott Turner's going to try and take some of the things that work with Fitzpatrick, it's not the tight end. So is probably Logan Thomas going to take a dip? Is it Blake Jarwin? Could he somehow maybe figure his way into what's going to be a loaded wide receiver group? What is the tight end of the NFC East that is sort of worth targeting for you?
If you can figure out the Schultz versus Jarwin argument down in Dallas, I really like the idea of going
whoever the top tight end is in Dallas, basically.
Now that's a difficult kind of exercise to try and figure out which one of them is going, but you can get both of them so late, so you could theoretically completely punt the position, go ahead and get both of them, and then keep whichever one ends up getting that role. So that would be where I'd go. I mean, Logan Thomas, he's about right as far as his ADP goes, so I don't really have a big issue going with him. I mean, he's big, he's athletic, he's a smart guy. He was our quarterback for Virginia Tech back in the day. So, I'm well aware of, his physical capabilities and everything like that. So I think they'll still try to get him into the offense. And he's just, he has too much potential as far as his athleticism and his ability as a tight end to be completely written out of the offense. So I'd be okay taking him there, but I would just go the Dallas tight end spot, getting 2 of those guys really late and just securing that would be the direction that I would go.
Are we done with Evan Ingram?
I have drafted Evan Ingram every season, and I think this year
is finally the one that just look. He doesn't have the hands for it. Like, he just doesn't.
Yeah, and he's always injured. He's always got the knee thing going on. It's always something with Ingram. And last year I touted him and he let me down. The year before I touted him and he let me down. I'm willing to go ahead and let somebody else take the chance on him, and I am okay with being wrong there. I want to see it one more time. I need to see it. Well, I need to see it once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think now, as we're going through the offenses, like the one theme here, and probably now what I want to go over the most, because there is one offense in particular that we are going to target here. Like, there's a few players in each offense. The Eagles are the toughest one, but like there are some players you could take in Washington. We'll talk about Terry McLaurin. We'll talk about Curtis Samuel. With New York, we'll talk about Kenny Galladay. We'll talk about Saquon Barkley, like, of course, but the potential offense here that is going to be a potential top 5 offense in the league is the Cowboys. Like, how many shares, or where are you looking to get the most shares in this Cowboys offense, if any at all? Like, maybe they are being too drafted, or, some guys, some wide receivers are going higher than others in ADP, and you can maybe look at a Michael Gallup for a little bit more value. But how many shares, and who are you getting the most shares of on this Cowboys offense? Because I imagine it's the one we're going to target the most in the NFC East.
Yeah, the most shares that I'm getting, especially I've gotten a lot of kind of mid. I've been getting my draft picks between 5 and 10. I've been getting in the second half of that first round, so I've been getting a lot of Ezekiel Elliott. And honestly, I feel fine targeting any of these guys. The best thing you can do is just multiple drafts, mix and match. Just because they have a ton of offensive weapons and they all have ceiling. And I think their ADPs are pretty reasonable for the ceiling that Dak Prescott has. I mean, the pace that guy was on last year before he got hurt was just otherworldly. I don't have any reason to think that their defense is going to be any better than it was last season. And, Prescott's throwing for 400 and 500 yards a game before that ankle breaks. There's no telling where he would have ended that year.
Yeah. Dak Prescott, He's obviously going to be a highly touted quarterback. And I know we mentioned outside of Dak Prescott, what quarterback would you want to take? Dak Prescott's clearly the best, but he's right now ranked as the 4th best quarterback over on the WinDailySports.com season-long rankings. Is that too hard to justify because of the injury? I mean, if he's healthy, look, his passing yardage totals at 4,900. Like Vegas is very closely projecting a close to 5,000 yard season for Dak Prescott. And if he was healthy for all of last season, he was projected for 6,000 yards. Obviously, you're not going to project 6,000, or he was on pace for 6,000. Obviously, he's not going to get that, but he likely very well would have shattered 5,000 yards.
Easily. I think he would have.
I mean, the numbers are going to be there if he's healthy, but how concerning is just that if he's healthy question?
It'll be less concerning when I see him in training camp. I want to see him running around a little bit. And once I can get some confirmation that he's okay, then I am completely fine with going all in on this offense and picking up all these weapons. I mean, I'm getting them anyway. I'm getting a lot of Cooper. I'm getting a lot of Cooper. I'm getting a lot of Jarwin and Schultz. I'm getting a lot of Zeke, Tony Pollard just as handcuff. The only guy that I'm not getting a ton of, and it's not for lack of interest, is CeeDee Lamb. It just hasn't worked out with where I've been at in the draft, where he's available when I'm ready to take him. But it's not through anything that he's done wrong. I think the ceiling is just tremendous. But if you're going to give me a choice between CeeDee and Amari, just with that, half a round to a full round difference in value, I just find myself falling on Cooper.
Because CeeDee is probably going to be in that spot where I find it more valuable to take a running back than I would a wide receiver there. Because he's going, late second, early third. And that's almost right where I want to take my running backs. I want to take my Miles Sanders. Yeah, exactly. Like, I would rather, because it's working out a lot. And this is all, this is why you do mock drafts, you do best balls, just to see how, everything kind of falls in place. But the few that I've done so far, the way it's fallen is it's most likely a wide receiver in the first. And then it's my running back in the second and third. Obviously, if you're late in the draft, if you're early in the draft, obviously you're going to get one of those running backs. So maybe you do end up getting a CeeDee Lamb a little bit later in the second round. Who knows? But I think, to me, when I've gone and I've picked a lot, later, 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th picks, it's really hard to get CeeDee Lamb for me. It's really hard to justify taking that pick when I feel like it's more valuable to take a running back in that spot.
Yep, I'm right there with you. We're the same mind with that. It's I have no problem with them. I just don't have a lot of them.
Yeah. What about the other two? I obviously mentioned the other two wide receivers that are going to be, I would imagine, pretty high up on some boards. Now, the first one I'll mention is Terry McLaurin, because he's actually one spot above CeeDee Lamb. So is he falling into the same kind of category here of, I love him, could be really good, but tough spot to take him?
I am actually reaching a bit more than some folks when it comes to Terry McLaurin. It's just, I know Washington's defense is going to be good, like Sia was saying in the comment section. I know Washington's defense is going to be good, and it's going to slow down a lot of offenses, but they're still gonna be scoring some points. I mean, they have especially their early schedule is pretty promising. They got, the Chargers, then they got, the Giants. I'm not worried about that. Then they got Buffalo, Atlanta, New Orleans, depending on the quarterback situation, depending on the wide receiver situation. And then they got Kansas City, and they got Green Bay now with supposedly Rodgers coming back. So these teams, they're going to score points. So I do understand that Washington's defense is good, and they're going to mitigate some of that, but they're not going to stop Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to stop Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to stop Justin Herbert and Josh Allen. So Terry McLaurin's ceiling, especially in the first half of this year, is going to be tremendous, in my opinion. So I've been reaching on Terry McLaurin.
Kenny Golladay. Now, he is going later than those guys. Kenny Golladay is going 27th, or at least in our Win Daily Sports rankings, he is 27th. Is that kind of the spot that you kind of find him in for you?
I'm not getting a lot of Galladay either. Too many questions with Daniel Jones and the turnovers.
Yes.
And just like you said, the coaching, it's just very bland, very vanilla. I don't have a lot of faith in that. So I just wait. And I've been getting a lot more Sterling Shepard. I've been getting a lot more Darius Slayton, guys like that in the offense. I'm letting other people take Galladay.
Yeah. Who are your sleepers in the NFC East? A couple of them, your favorite ones, whatever the case may be. But who are some of your sleepers that you could say, hey, this is a guy make later on take a flyer on, or later on in the draft that you could possibly take here as a sleeper from the NFC East?
Let me see. I'm kind of pulling that, make sure I got that pulled up right now. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
by the way, check it out, WinDailySports.com. There is a sleeper article that Stoweby has out. So he does have a bunch of sleepers, not all specifically to the NFC East, just in the entire NFL. Sleepers you can check out. Always good to check out those.
Yeah, and I'm still adding to that. Those were a handful for each position, but as the different things kind of break, and as I'm looking at these teams and watching the film, I'm going to be adding more to it. It's going to be a much larger article. Either that, or I'll do like a recap or an addition later on down the line. But yeah, I will be adding. There will be more sleepers that come up through training camp. But I mean, a guy like Michael Gallup at 106 is
nice.
A really solid ADP, because I mean Dak was targeting him a lot.
Is he being forgotten about just because of Lamb and Cooper?
Yeah, he's being forgotten about, and people don't. Dalton was just so bad at pushing the ball down the field, and the offensive line was just so damaged last year. Yeah. So that's somebody that I feel pretty comfortable go ahead and getting a few shares of. That's a good ADP for him. And if you can project, or if you can predict Ertz going somewhere, a 179 ADP is really tasty at the very end of your drafts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been getting a lot of Darius Slayton. He's going at the very last pick, and he's the leading. I know it's not much, but he was the leading receiver each of the last 2 seasons for the Giants. And I know a lot of that has to do with just injury and the lack of weapons and things like that. But I mean, there's still got to be something to the fact that he's got some sort of chemistry with Jones, and he's still a big play guy. I use him a lot in DFS, so I'm always a kind of a fanboy of his. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then
he's been good. He's kind of fallen under the radar too, and somebody who's been performing well. For sure.
And then Ryan Fitzpatrick for Washington, just 15th round, 16th round ADP, I think is really, really good for him, for the potential upside that it brings.
So last question, and I saved it for last because it is part of our question for today. Who was the leading rusher in the NFC East in 2020? Give us the answer to that. You could win a free 1-month subscription to WinDailySports.com. And it's a really easy one. If you think about it.
Do we have
really
anybody
easy.
Hit it yet?
No, not yet. But when we do, we'll be able to. We'll hit you up on Twitter or YouTube. We'll get back to you. But WinDailySports.com. Give us, or Win Daily Sports on Twitter, and also Win Daily Sports YouTube channel. Just hit us up and let us know what your answer is for the trivia question for who was the leading rusher in the NFC East in 2020. But Stoweby, this is kind of leading to an interesting question, because I think some people would be stumped by this one. But the NFC East is loaded with a few, all kind of really good running backs. Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders, and of course, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, the biggest thing is health. We know healthy, he's probably the best out of the bunch and in the best spot out of the bunch. But the rest of this running back group, all of this running back group, how do you kind of sort things out there? Miles Sanders, I think we're kind of agreeing on, maybe one of the better at his spots, at his current ADP, maybe one of the better picks in terms of that running back group.
Yeah. From a pure ADP value, I like Sanders the most, and Zeke and Saquon are two guys that I've been falling onto a lot at the tail end of the first round. So it is. I've got some shares of Gibson. I know he's gonna be fine. I think Washington's gonna run the ball plenty. I mean, the upside on that whole Washington team is. I can see why C is excited about his boys making some noise this year. I can really see a scenario where that happens. But this is a really, really fun running back group. I don't think you're wrong with any of them. So like at their ADP and at their value, I do not think you're wrong with going with any one of these guys.
You know what? That's a great way to just like kind of encapsulate it all. I don't think there was a wrong pick here. Like I like where Gibson's at in his ADP. I like where Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley. Some people are actually letting them fall. Let them fall to me, please.
Let them fall. I'll take it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Let them fall to me. And Miles Sanders, I think, is in an awesome buy low spot compared to where his ADP was last year and where it's at now. And I think he's in a better spot now than he was last year. You know, so I don't think there's a wrong play for a running back in the NFC East.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I'll sit there and say that I'm probably going to fade. The entirety of the NFC East is not one of those places.
Yeah. For sure.
It's just the way that it is.
That is our NFC East preview. Did we leave anything out? We covered that pretty well. And guess what? We're going to be doing this for every single division for the next week and a half. So we'll be doing that right here. Myself, Jon Jansen, Stoweby. Stoweby, we're all good, right? We covered the absolute hell out of that. And of course, whoever does answer that question will hit you up and get you your free 1-month subscription. There we go.
There we go.
An answer. Hey, buzzer
there
beater. How about, you know what? I like a good buzzer beater. We're
and the thing is,
we're still getting
and what you just said right there, that comment is exactly the conversation that me and him had before the show.
Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott, because I'm glad now it's finally answered, because now I can also say the fact that he was the 11th rusher in the entire NFL. Now, of course, Lamar Jackson was 9th in rushing, so he was over him. Melvin Gordon was over him. Josh Jacobs was over him. So yes, there were a lot of names, but still, we talk about a down season, and it still wasn't like completely this downright horrible. He was the worst running back in the league kind of thing. If it gets better, like if it gets slightly better, we're looking at a 1,000-yard season for Ezekiel Elliott again. Like, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect him to be a lot better than if I look at his yards per carry average. He was 4. Like, I think I can expect a 4.5 yards per carry average from Ezekiel Elliott. And if he does that, obviously he's going to be a well over 1,000-yard back.
Yep, and their line is back healthy again, and that's something that a lot of people do not consider. Yeah, and they have their quarterback. The offense is going to look completely different. And Ezekiel Elliott is one of those guys where he's not going to make things happen on his own. If he has a solid line, he's going to have a fantastic season.
Yeah, he absolutely will. All right, so Zach Smith, we'll get you hooked up. Congratulations to Zach for winning a free 1-month membership to WinDailySports.com. But yeah, it was Ezekiel Elliott. What a great way to end the show. We got a winner. We'll be back tomorrow. What division? We'll do it right now. What division are we doing tomorrow? Stoweby, I'll make you pick.
Let's cover mine. Let's cover the NFC North.
NFC North. That's a juicy one to cover right now. There's a lot of.
Yep.
I
didn't want to cover it until we got some sort of.
And you're right. We got Aaron Rodgers back, but like Justin Fields, apparently Matt Nagy's like kind of impressed. Maybe Justin Fields will be starting. I don't know.
Look, hey, Matt Nagy does. Oh man, I'm just going to say it right now. Matt Nagy does not need to be taken back over the play calling duties of the Chicago Bears. That dude outsmarts himself.
Preview. That's a tease.
And week out.
That's a tease. That's a preview for tomorrow as we preview the NFC North. That's it for the NFC East preview. We'll be back tomorrow here, Win Daily Sports.